This is it. This is the episode a lot of you have been waiting for. A welcome return to the normal MCU world. But, does it deliver? While I quite enjoyed this episode, I cannot help but miss the WandaVision parts of this episode of WandaVision. The opening scene is phenomenal, and it shows us the chaos and confusion that the blip, I know it's a really stupid name, brought after the events of Endgame. I thoroughly enjoyed learning a little bit about the history of S.W.O.R.D. and that the Rambos were a huge part of the creation of S.W.O.R.D., as well as the legacy of S.W.O.R.D., and we get a nice idea of what they have been doing since we saw them in Captain Marvel. Teyonah Parrish is phenomenal in this episode as Monica Rambeau, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more of her, not only in this, but in Captain Marvel 2. I also really enjoyed Randall Park and Kat Dennings. I think Darcy is great in small doses, and this show seems to be using her the right amount for her character. However, I do feel like the episode dipped a little after we arrived in Westview, where it essentially becomes a perspective shift episode, where we find out kind of the opposite end of all the twisty, turny things from the first 3 episodes. And to me, I really could have used a little bit more to help push the story forward with some positive momentum 4 episodes in. While this was a nice episode full of bunch of reveals, I really think we could have done a little bit more to push us towards something or somewhere. As the episode opens, we learn a couple of things. One is that Monica Rambeau was a victim of the snap from Infinity War, as we see her here being blipped back after the events of Avengers Endgame. We also learn that Maria Rambeau tragically passed away during the 5-year gap between Infinity War and Endgame from a recurrence of cancer. From there, we are taken to S.W.O.R.D. headquarters, and like I predicted, it does actually in fact stand for Sentient Weapon Observation and Response Division in this universe. We're also introduced to acting director Tyler Hayward. He explains that S.W.O.R.D. used to be full of manned space operations, but the snap limited their staff to the point where they had to shift focused and use more drones and nanobots type technology to accomplish their goals and research. He also reveals that Maria Rambeau had essentially started S.W.O.R.D. and that Monica grew up in this world. And that was a nice little touch for the audience to let us know that this S.W.O.R.D. has actually been active in the MCU for a lot longer than most of us have speculated. Now, because of protocols put in place by her mother, Maria, Monica is grounded due to having come back so recently from being blipped, and is sent to investigate a missing persons case in Westview, New Jersey. It is here we find none other than Agent Jimmy Woo, showing us he has perfected the guard trick Scott taught him in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Woo is there investigating a missing witness who no one seems to remember, which I find odd. Who could this witness be? Is it possible this is the Ralph that we've been hearing so much about? And is it possible that Ralph may be being possessed by Mephisto? Anything's possible at this point. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see on that one. Monica and Jimmy speak to 2 local police officers, but both insist that the town of Westview does not exist, even though they are standing right in front of the sign for Westview. The drone that Monica sets up to send in to survey the town shares the colors of Captain Marvel, and I thought that was a cute nod to her relationship with Carol and how close they were. Her disappearance fully mobilizes S.W.O.R.D. to set up a headquarters and recruit a team of scientists all from varying fields of expertise, one of which is Darcy Lewis, who has become a doctor in astrophysics, plus her history with Thor makes her a viable candidate to be a part of this team. Darcy is actually the one who discovers the image of the series hidden in wavelengths inside of a large amount of cosmic microwave background radiation, or CMBR as she calls it. This is actually stated to be relic radiation that dates back to the Big Bang, which to me sounds like they're implying that Wanda created a new universe with some sort of Big Bang type of event. And as we know from the Collector, from Guardians of the Galaxy, the Infinity Stones were created at the Big Bang. Does this mean that Wanda is able to create an Infinity Stone? And if she is, can she actually bring the Vision back to life? Or did she do it already? We get a lot of nice reverse perspective moments in this episode. We see that Darcy was the person watching the episode in episode 1. We learn that the Beekeeper was a sword agent named Franklin. And this showed us how the field alters people when they enter, as his sword hazmat suit becomes a bee suit and his tether becomes a piece of jump rope. It is actually pretty interesting to see how this field converts people in order to shield this reality. It is also confirmed that Jimmy Woo was the person on the radio in episode 2 that we had originally speculated, which was something that pretty much everyone had assumed already. There's also this bulletin board with people's pictures on it. Basically a run-through of all the people we've seen from episodes 1 to 3 of WandaVision in Wanda's reality. And we're told their real names in a way that makes it seem like they're actually starring in this fake show that Wanda's created in her reality. We find out that all of them are real people and they are residents of Westview, New Jersey from their driver's licenses. And the funny thing is, Dottie's picture is not there at all, and Agnes has no identification attached to her profile. There's no real name, there's no driver's license. I think the Agnes portion is definitely a solid clue that this may in fact be Agatha Harkness or someone else for that matter, and that there's more to her character than what it seems. But I think the Dottie thing is more of a red herring, because these are people that we've only seen in the first 2 episodes, and in the first episode I should say, and Dottie does not appear until episode 2, and at this point episode 2 was going on in their time, so I think that's why her picture is not there yet. Another fact we're given is that the show is being censored in the real world. So every time we see a skip or cut that occurs on our screen, it's actually happening on the show within the show. So is Wanda censoring this, or is it being done by someone a bit more nefarious? At the end of the episode, we are brought back to Wanda's reality, where we witness the altercation between Wanda and Monica. Wanda aggressively ejects Monica from the bubble using her powers, and then we see her fix the damage to her reality using her powers as well. So this kind of shows you a bit how Wanda might be building this reality brick by brick. After this moment, we get a startling image of the visage of Vision as he appeared after he died in Infinity War, which leads us to an important question. Is Wanda using Vision's corpse as a puppet? Now, if you ask me, I honestly think that this might be a red herring, that Vision might actually be alive, or starting to become alive at this point. And I think that this is someone trying to manipulate Wanda and drive her a little bit off the edge. Because as we see in this episode, Wanda is extremely powerful. And someone might be needing her powers, but at the same time is not able to take her on when she's fully in use of her abilities. As the episode ends, Monica comes to and says that Wanda is responsible for everything. But I think that there's more going on, and I think the fact they're throwing so much sus onto Wanda this soon in the series makes me believe that there are other players that we have yet to see that are manipulating Wanda in ways that we're not sure of yet. But until next time, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe, and as always, catch you later.